Morning everyone, welcome back again. I think this is number 35 in the video series on the 59 GMC. And making more progress here, still waiting on the other two projects. The 37 Plymouth will probably be 3 more weeks, I'm thinking. They ran into a few issues, he's still trying to find parts and stuff. I haven't talked to the owner of the 72 Chevy. For a while he's been busy writing songs for a new album. So anyhow, I'll show you where we're at, what we've got done, and where we're headed. So over the last while here I've been working on the inside, as you saw, getting everything mounted up. This is the inner part of the brake booster mount. It's got the brake pedal arm here and the gas pedal mount here. So as I mentioned at the end of the last video there, what we had to do was I cut the gas pedal off, or the mount off, to move it over, keep it at the same height. What I did was add 7/8 of an inch in between here, just to get it to move straight over. The gas pedal itself, right here on the arm, I took 1 inch out of it, which moved it up and over slightly, which compensated for adding this 1 inch here. So the pedal spacing is still really good. And I know I was having trouble explaining what I actually did for a steering column mount, and I'll just show you here now. So this is the part of the steering column that goes through the firewall. And I'll just grab a light. Get some light on the subject if it'll stay here. It's not liking that. Just give me a sec. Put that back. Still doesn't want to stay. Anyhow, if you look inside here, you can see that white plastic ring. Well, that's the actual bearing that centers the shaft. It's actually got ball bearings in it. It's a piece of nylon. And we trimmed the outside of it to fit inside this piece of 2 1/4 inch tubing. And then this is where I stepped that tubing down onto the column to 2 inch and then plug welded it. And then this part of the tubing right here, which is 2 1/4 inch OD, is what slides into the inside mount. Just let me get this light positioned so you can see, and it's not in your eyes. Okay, so this is the lower part. This is the 3 1/2 inch tubing that's welded to the plate. As you can see here, this is the two slits I put in it so that the clamp has something to clamp down on. And the steering column just slides straight into there, and then it'll bolt to the upper column up here, or to the dash, the lower side of the dash, once I get that all repaired. So the last 2 days what I've been working on is plugging up all of the holes in the firewall. I think I counted 31 of them by the time I was done. I should have just cut the whole firewall out and made a new piece for it, but I didn't want to get that much into it, and it's fairly heavy steel. So what I did on the outside, I got everything cleaned up and ground, all the welds done, and I put some gray primer on it. I'm now going to bolt the booster in with the brake pedal assembly, and then I can start building the brace that goes across from the dash, or sorry, from the firewall up to the top of the dash, and then down to the dash to support where the steering column goes. Okay, here we are back at it again, another new day. So I had the gas pedal in there, and it was still too far off the floor, off the firewall, and taking away a whole bunch of leg room, and it just wasn't comfortable at the start of the push on the pedal. So I did some measuring, and I was able to lower it another 2 inches. So what I've done is the first time there I showed you I took 1 inch out of here, which brought it to the left and up. And then to move it closer to the firewall, I cut a pie out of the lower part of this, or the upper part, I just left about 3/16 of an inch connected here, and then I bent this down, closed the pie up, and then re-welded it. The tricky part about this is you have to weld it just a little bit at a time, keep this all cool. There's plastic bushings and everything, as well as the potentiometer in here for the throttle pedal, and I didn't want to get that too hot. So now it still clears the floor on full throttle by about an inch, 3/4 of an inch, but way more comfortable. I'll just get it set in there. Okay, I've got the gas pedal installed there now. I may have to do the same with the brake, just take it down another inch or so. Right now it feels pretty comfortable. I'll just climb inside here. See if I can get the lighting in the right spot. Okay, give me a sec here. Okay. Sorry about that. So yeah, it's really comfortable there now. I got lots of room for full throttle, and actually the brake pedal's pretty nice feel as well. So the other thing that I've got done, and normally I don't do a whole lot of talking in my videos, but I'm going to kind of show you what the plan is here and what we're going to do. So if you remember, I showed you on the dash I had a bunch of rust in the bottom where the steering column used to go. The whole shelf on the bottom side was just full of mouse shit and crap. So I ended up, so let me grab this and I'll show you what I got. This is everything that I cut out of there. As you can see, it's a real rusty mess. Everything here is gone. It's just terrible, terrible, terrible. So what I did was I had one of the stiffeners from the box that went underneath the bed, the original one, and it was the perfect dimensions and strength to make my new mount. So I got in here, not real happy with the way the GMC dash looked anyhow. If this was a Chevy, I never would have cut this apart. They have such a beautiful dash with that kind of teardrop triangle with the curved top dash in it. I would have done anything I could to keep that. But the GMC one is pretty plain, pretty ugly. So instead of trying to repair all of that nasty rust that was in the bottom here, I just cut it right out and welded this piece of structure in that I built. I've got the steering column mounted now. It's solid as a rock. Brake pedal and everything's all mounted. And then I started looking at the instruments. And I've been looking online at some of the less expensive eBay ones or ones from Amazon. And with the way our dollar is right now, it's absolutely ridiculous. Plus we've got these tariffs coming, possibly. I think Trump's just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks and pissing everybody off, but that's okay, that's what he does. So anyhow, once I started looking at this, I went out to the old 3 chassis and I pulled the instrument cluster out of it. And I'll just bring it out here. Hopefully don't drop it and break it. Give me a sec here. Sorry for the horrible camera work. Make you all sick. So anyhow, this is the cluster out of the 03. Really simple. It's held in with 4 screws. It's got 1 plug-in on the back. Everything's done. And this cost me $0. Now the other good thing about this, and I don't know if I can do this one-handed without destroying this. Bear with me. Hopefully I don't break it. Anyhow, this thing fits in here exactly the right width, but the issue is the way the dash on the 03 is shaped, with all that plastic trim and crap, it makes it really tough to try and mount it in there. The reason being, you can see the curve in this. It comes up like this. Well, after some careful scrutiny and looking at this, I'm pretty sure what I can do. This all comes apart. There's 2 clips here, 2 clips on the top, and the faceplate comes off. And I think what I can do is I can take this dimension here and I can trim this perfectly flat all the way around, just the way it's shaped. And then, because this is curved, what I've done is I ordered off of Amazon some plexiglass, 1/8 plexiglass sheets. They come in a 2-pack, 12 by 16 for $22, and this just happens to be 15 3/4 inches wide, so I'll be able to get one out of each sheet so I can bugger one up and it won't matter. But what I'll do then is I'll pop this one off. Once I have this flat, I'll make a new one and I'll glue it on, and that instrument cluster will fit in that opening absolutely perfectly. So then all I'm going to have to do is make an insert. I've already got this recess all the way around where the old dash went in. I'll have to continue it down here so that it wraps around underneath. I'll make the insert so that the instrument cluster can bolt in there, and then the whole thing will just bolt right in. One plug in on the back. All the wiring's done. Zero cost, just a bunch of time. So anyhow, we'll carry on with this once I get a plan together. The plexiglass probably won't be here till Wednesday next week, so I can't start shaping that, but I can start building the faceplate that's going to go in there. We had some parts come in. I got my Champion radiator come out of, I think they're out of LA, down in California. Part number, direct fit, CC 5559-LS for the LS conversion. It's a 3-row, guaranteed to cool 700 horsepower, and I totally believe what they say. I've run 3 of their rads now, and they've never had an issue with overheating in the Hemi swaps or with my 350 in my previous rat rod. So anyhow, I got this one bolted in, fits perfectly. I don't know how I'm going to be for clearance on the fan. So once I get a little further on brake stuff and under the dash, then I'm going to refit the front sheet metal here and slip the rad in and see how it looks. The one issue I did have, this thing, it took forever to get here. It went from LA all the way somewhere in Michigan somewhere, crossed up into Quebec, Montreal, Canada, went to Toronto. From Toronto it went to Winnipeg. From Winnipeg it went to Regina. For some reason, from Regina it went to Calgary, and then it ended up back here. So anyhow, the box was completely destroyed. Somehow, I don't know how, but there's no damage on the radiator, thank God, because I didn't want to have to go through that BS. eBay can be a little bit troublesome with returns from Canada. So okay, we're working on the dash opening here, where the instrument cluster is going to go. So what I've done here is this 1/4 inch reset or inset. This is where the aluminum factory cluster was screwed into. What happened is it came down and then it did a curve and went straight across to the other side. So what I'm doing is I made a cut right down. I followed this line straight down across the bottom of the dash on this side. I ended right about here, and then I took a piece of 18 gauge and I figured out the radius of the dash. I broke a 90 in this piece, and then I used a stretcher to put the proper curve in it. So this will go like this on the passenger side of the dash there. So once I get everything cut and fit like I did on this side, and I get the correct depth, I scribed a line down the edge of this piece and then trimmed it back 19 gauge or whatever thousandths of an inch it is so that it fits in behind. And then I'm just going to weld this all the way down, and then I can clean up this edge with the grinder. I'll trim this down and I'll leave it a little bit wider in the corner here so that I can put a oh boy, there goes the brain again, a rivet nut for screwing this all together. And I shouldn't have cut this center tab out. There used to be a bar that went down to the bottom. I shouldn't have cut it up here. I should have left that down so that I could put a screw in the center as well. So there's going to be one here, one here, one here. There'll be one on the bottom. Oh, there goes the light on each side, and then two that come up from underneath to hold the rolled piece in. So I'm going to carry on with these. I'm going to weld this side, then I'll get cutting that side, get that piece all fit, and then I can make the insert that's going to go in here, and I'll show you how I'm going to go about that. Here we go again, another new day. So I've got this opening all taken care of here. I trimmed the pieces. See if I can get these lights in a place that works. So I trimmed them. I left this tab here on the corner for my rivet nut to go in. I'll put another rivet nut up here in the corner. I welded a new tab in here where I cut the one out by mistake. Same over there. And I got them both. So next thing I'm going to do is make the insert that goes in here. It's just going to be a blank. There won't be a hole cut in it until after I figure out exactly how I'm going to modify that instrument cluster. So I'm just going to get this working here and start making this piece, and I'll show you how I'm going about it. Okay, I got my BC CAD done. Got the piece all fitted here. I'll just pull it out. Drop it on the floor. Okay, so I'm going to cut this out of 18 gauge, and I'm going to leave it 3/8 of an inch longer all the way around for my breakdown. And to get this curve, I don't know if you've tried to bend this stuff in a nice easy curve. If you don't use a straight edge, it just doesn't go straight. So what I do is I just put it in my brake, and I just keep braking it at 90 degrees in straight lines, and it gives you a really nice curve and holds its shape really nice. So now this was just to make my cardboard template fit. This is going to have to come down lower because when this curves around, this 3/8 lip I have in here is going to hold it down further. So I actually have to start this down a little bit lower. So this may have to be 1/2 to 3/8 to 1/2 an inch longer on the bottom. So I'll leave that when I make my pattern. So because of the curve here and with the 3/8 lip, I'm going to have a real problem trying to bend this. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to put my lip from where the curve starts up to the top, and I'm just going to cut this off, and then once I fit this, I'll cut a tab and weld it on there and just grind the edge. I think that would be a lot easier and way more accurate. Okay, we'll get piece cut out here and start fitting it. Okay, I've got everything marked out here ready to go. My piece of 18 gauge. This is the face side of my beer case CAD to the back. So what I did was I copied it out from the back side because all of my brakes have to go inwards. If I'd have transferred it on the other side, then I'd have had to try and figure out my relief for my brakes by transferring marks really hard way. So anyhow, I got this done. Now once I cut this out, I'll be cutting on this line, and then I'll remove this little piece here on both sides. And I left 3/4 of an inch on the outside edges and 3/8 of an inch, which is what I need on the top. And the reason I did that is I'm going to bend the sides in the brake just to make it a little bit easier. The top has the curves, so I can't do it in the brake anyhow, so I might as well make it as easy as possible here. So next thing I'm going to do is get this all cut out and get it set up for putting the brakes in. Now the other thing I got to remember is this pattern is the outside finished width of this, so I have to take my brake in the thickness of the 18 gauge plus a little bit for the radius, so I can either make it or break it if I don't judge that correctly. So we'll have to see how that works out here. Okay, I'm hoping this is going to show up. I've marked a second line here, about a 1/16 of an inch, a little bit more than a 1/16 of an inch back from the line that I already had there from my pattern, which should give me the clearance I want. Bring this in the thickness of the steel plus just a touch. I've done that on both sides, and now I'm going to break them. Okay, so here we are. I've got both edges broke, and it worked out almost perfect. I'm just a touch narrower than I want it to be, but I think I can crisp those lines up a little bit on my piece of I-beam, and go from there. It fits in the dash really well. So next thing I have to do now is tip this top line. That's all going to have to be done by hand with a hammer and a dolly and my I-beam. So we'll carry on from here. These will have to get trimmed back to the proper depth so that this sits flush inside the dash, and we can go from there. Okay guys, we're working on bending this upper flange here. I started out with just a pair of flat vice grips just to get the line started, and now I'm using my dolly. I'm putting the dolly right on my line and just slowly going to work this lip up all the way across. Kind of a tedious process, but okay, I got it to about 45 degrees there. As you can see, I'll just keep working that all the way across till I got it at a nice 90. Okay, so I've got everything bent, and I've been slowly working on these edges, grinding them down, getting the proper curve in it so that it sits recessed in the dash so it's level with the rest. I've got a really good fit there now. Now what I have to do is get this bottom rolled over to 90 degrees to go around the bottom side of the dash. And that's giving me a bit of an issue. Where I started with the brake here, I've kind of got a divot started. I don't know if you can see that there, but I got to try and figure out how I'm going to get this in a nice straight bend across here. So sure would be nice to have a pan brake at this time. Not. Okay, I've been racking my brain how to get this bend in the bottom here, and what I've done is I cleaned up the back side of one of my cheap ass Chinese dollies. This has got the right radius I need, and I'm just using my slapper and slowly rolling this around that dolly. It seems to be working good. I'm just going to have to do it a little tiny bit at a time and see how things come out here. Okay, as I'm getting this worked around, I know that my bottom lip here is too long and I want to cut it off, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it. I measured up 1 inch across. That's how much I'll be able to cut off. I'm going to break it at as close to 90 degrees as I can get, and then that'll add a bunch of strength to the bottom of this panel, and it'll stop this from getting a curve in it as well. Okay, so we got this panel almost complete. What I did was, never fails, as soon as you go to do something, the phone rings. Got rid of that. Okay, so here's the panel. I got the curve put in. I got the 5 mounting holes done, and then I drilled corresponding holes in the actual dash here, and I put 1024 rivet nuts in. I'll just put this panel in. I still have to close in these corners at the bottom here. Get you in a spot where you can see here. Oops. I got to weld in a little piece here just to support that. I'll just set you up here. Hopefully you can see. And hold on a sec here. Nothing's working the way it's supposed to. Hopefully you can see there. I'll just put the panel in and then I'll bring you back. Okay, there's the panel installed. I got to finish up those bottom corners. Then I'll mount the steering column in there just to make sure. I might have a clearance problem right here where the steering column comes through. I might have to just relieve this a little bit, and then I can figure out the instrument cluster and get that put in there. Okay guys, I got those corners all welded up. The little fill-in pieces for the bottom corners here to tie it all together. Got the steering column installed. All ready to have the instrument cluster fit in there. So that'll be the next thing we're going to work on. I'm hoping to have my plexiglass early this coming week. Just get you in the tripod here. Stood up a little higher. There we go. So yeah, I'm going to call that one good for this video. That was a big project got done there. Probably took me 5 hours to make that insert with all of the patching the underside of the dash and everything there, making those lips. So anyhow, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll carry on from there. Just one little shout out here if you guys want to check out Lars hot rods from, I think, over in Denmark or Norway. Norway, that's where it is. He's got a video out every Friday, and it's showing the hot rod scene over there in Norway. It's pretty cool. Lots of cool rides. I'll put a link in the description there for you.